The emergency beacon pulsed through the void of space, its quantum signature rippling across the darkness like stones skipped across a pond. In the command center of the Viridian mining colony, Asteria 7, Governor Kilara's crystalline skin flickered with patterns of distress as she watched the holographic display. The Nexus swarm's biomechanical ships darkened the stars around her colony, their chitinous hulls absorbing what little light reached this far corner of space. "Status report," she demanded, her translator converting her harmonic tones into standard galactic common. Her chief of security, Commander Vix, projected a tactical overlay onto the main screen. 3 high ships detected, Governor. Conservative estimates suggest over 2,000 drone vessels. Our shield matrix is holding at 60%, but their acid weapons are adapting to our frequency modulations. Kilara's crystalline form dimmed slightly. The Viridian Confederation had always prided itself on technological superiority, their crystalline biology allowing them to interface directly with their advanced systems. But the swarm was different. It learned, it adapted, and it never stopped until its target was completely consumed. "The nearest Confederation battle group?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. 4 days at maximum jump speed," Vix replied. "We have already begun evacuation procedures, but—" he hesitated. "We cannot evacuate everyone before they breach our defenses." The mining colony housed over 50,000 souls. Civilian ships could carry perhaps a tenth of that number to safety before the swarm broke through. Kilara had heard stories of what happened to colonies taken by the swarm. No survivors. Ever. A junior communications officer suddenly straightened, her crystalline form brightening with surprise. "Governor, I'm detecting a response to our distress call. It's not Confederation." "Display," Kilara ordered. The holographic screen shifted, showing a text-only response in galactic common. "Hold tight. Human warship Ntiomeng. ETA 18 minutes." The command center erupted in confused murmurs. Humans were newcomers to the galactic stage, barely a century into faster-than-light travel. Their technology was considered primitive by Confederation standards, their ships slow and unwieldy. What could a single human warship possibly do against a swarm fleet? 16 minutes later, they got their answer. The UES Defiant dropped out of quantum space like a shark breaking the surface of a calm sea. Its hull was matte black, absorbing rather than reflecting light, its lines clean and predatory. Unlike the elegant crystalline ships of the Confederation or the organic curves of the swarm, the human vessel was all angles and purpose. On its bridge, Captain Sarah Chen sat forward in her command chair, dark eyes fixed on the tactical display. At 43, she had earned her command through a combination of tactical brilliance and a willingness to push both technology and human limits beyond their breaking point. The Defiant was her ship, the first of its class, and today would be its true testing ground. "Status report," she ordered, her voice calm despite the enormity of what they faced. Her XO, Commander David Rivera, responded immediately. 3 swarm high ships detected, along with approximately 2,300 drone vessels. Colony shields at 48% and falling. No civilian casualties yet, but they're running out of time. Chen nodded, her mind already racing through possibilities. The Defiant was experimental, equipped with technology that merged human intuition with artificial intelligence in ways no other species had attempted. Some called it reckless. She called it necessary. "All hands, battle stations," she announced. "Initialize ARIA system." Around the bridge, neural interface nodes activated as her crew linked their minds to the ship's advanced response intelligence array. Unlike the Viridian's purely technological interface or the swarm's biological connection, ARIA was a hybrid, a marriage of human consciousness and machine learning that amplified both. "Colony Asteria 7, this is Captain Chen of the UES Defiant," she broadcast. "We are engaging the enemy. Continue your evacuation. We'll keep them busy." The response came quickly, Governor Kilura's translated voice carrying clear skepticism. Captain, while we appreciate your assistance, a single vessel cannot hope to. Watch us, Chen interrupted, allowing herself a small smile. Weapons, target the nearest highest ship. Show them how humans fight. The Defiant's quantum drive hummed as it accelerated, its revolutionary propulsion system allowing it to move in ways that defied conventional physics. The ship's eye-targeting systems, guided by human intuition through AI, calculated firing solutions faster than any organic brain could process. The first shots caught the swarm completely by surprise. The Defiant's main gun fired projectiles accelerated to near-light speed, each round carrying a payload of quantum-entangled particles. When they struck the high ship's organic hull, the particles destabilized its molecular structure from the inside out. The massive vessel began to break apart, its drone ships suddenly operating with reduced efficiency as their connection to the hive mind weakened. But the swarm was nothing if not adaptive. The remaining ships quickly adjusted their formation, their organic weapons beginning to mutate in response to this new threat. They're adapting faster than simulated, Rivera reported. Acid weapons showing quantum properties now. Shields holding, but they're learning our frequency. Chen's neural interface buzzed with tactical options as AI processed combat data in real time. Good, she said, surprising her crew. Let them adapt. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to change the rules of the game. Execute pattern Delta 7. The Defiant's engines flared as it initiated a maneuver that would have torn any conventional ship apart. The quantum drive allowed it to briefly exist in multiple probable states at once, making it impossible for the swarm's targeting systems to get a lock. As the ship phase shifted through space, its weapons struck from angles that should have been physically impossible. In the colony's command center, Governor Kilura watched in astonishment as a single human ship executed combat maneuvers that violated several laws of physics. Impossible, she whispered. Their technology shouldn't be capable of this. Commander Vix's crystalline form pulsed with analytical patterns. They've merged multiple technological approaches we considered incompatible. The efficiency is remarkable. The battle continued to unfold, with the Defiant dancing between swarms of hostile drones. Every time the swarm adapted to one tactic, the human ship switched to another. Conventional weapons gave way to electromagnetic pulses, then to targeted gravity distortions, then to weapons systems the Viridians couldn't even classify. But the swarm was vast, and even with its revolutionary systems, the Defiant couldn't be everywhere at once. As Chen pressed the attack against the second high ship, a group of drones broke through, heading for the colony's weakening shields. Captain, Governor Kilura's voice crackled through the comm. Our shields cannot withstand much more. If you cannot, trust us. Chen interrupted again, her hands flying across her console as AI fed combat data directly into her mind. Humanity survived centuries of warfare by learning one crucial lesson. There's always a way to win. You just have to be willing to try the impossible. She opened a channel to her engineering section. Lieutenant Kumar, remember that theoretical application of the quantum drive we discussed? The one everyone said would probably blow up the ship. Yes, Captain, came the response, excitement evident in the young engineer's voice. Ready to execute on your order. Chen smiled, her eyes fixed on the approaching swarm of hostile drones. Sometimes the best way to win isn't to be the strongest or the most advanced. Sometimes you just have to be crazy enough to try what no one else would dare. She took a deep breath, her mind already calculating the risks. All hands, brace for pattern Omega. Let's show the galaxy why you should never underestimate human ingenuity. The battle for Asteria 7 was about to enter its final phase, and Captain Sarah Chen was about to demonstrate why humanity's greatest weapon had always been its ability to think outside the box, even if that meant breaking a few laws of physics in the process. Executing pattern Omega. Captain Chen's words hung in the air for a fraction of a second before the UES Defiance quantum drive engaged in a way it was never designed to operate. Instead of using the drive for propulsion, Lieutenant Kumar had reconfigured it to create a localized field of quantum uncertainty around the ship. RIA, calculate probability waves for all drone vessels within range, Chen ordered, her neural interface humming with data. Execute on my mark. The approaching swarm of hostile drones suddenly found themselves in a region of space where probability itself had become unreliable. Their biomechanical systems, designed to adapt to conventional warfare, couldn't cope with an environment where the laws of physics became mere suggestions. In the colony's command center, Governor Kilara's crystalline form flickered with confusion as her sensors tried to make sense of what they were detecting. Impossible. They're using their quantum drive as a weapon. The energy requirements alone should. Ma'am. Commander Vix interrupted, his normally steady voice carrying an edge of wonder. The human ship is. They're using probability itself as a shield. The space around the Defiant had become a maelstrom of quantum possibilities. Drone ships found themselves occupying multiple states simultaneously, their organic processors unable to determine which reality was actual. Some simply ceased to exist as probability collapsed around them. Others fired weapons that struck their own vessels in timelines that suddenly became real. Warning. RIA's calm voice echoed through the Defiance bridge. Quantum field stability at 60% and declining. Drive containment will fail in approximately 4 minutes. Commander Rivera turned to his captain, sweat beading on his dark skin. We can't maintain this field for long. If the drive fails, we don't need long, Chen interrupted, her fingers dancing across her neural interface controls. We just need to change their pattern recognition enough to create an opening. Humanity didn't survive its own wars by being the strongest. We survived by being adaptable. The remaining high ships, recognizing the threat, began to adjust their attack patterns. Their organic technology started to evolve in real time, attempting to compensate for the quantum distortions. But that was exactly what Chen had been counting on. They're doing it, she said, a fierce grin spreading across her face. All power to forward shields. Lieutenant Kumar, prepare to drop the quantum field on my mark. Weapons, target these coordinates the moment we stabilize. The swarm, in its attempt to adapt to the quantum distortions, had reconfigured its biomechanical systems to operate in a probability-fluid environment. But in doing so, it had made itself vulnerable to conventional attacks in ways its original configuration would have easily withstood. Now, the quantum field collapsed, and the Defiant's main guns fired simultaneously. The accelerated rounds struck the modified drone ships, their now altered molecular structure unable to withstand the impact. Entire squadrons of hostile craft disintegrated, their adapted defenses worse than useless against old-fashioned kinetic weapons. In the colony's command center, Commander Vix's analytical patterns pulsed rapidly. They forced the swarm to evolve in a specific direction, then exploited the adaptation itself as a weakness. This is not how advanced species wage war. Governor Kilara watched the tactical display with growing fascination. No, it's not. The humans, they think differently. They don't just use technology. They subvert it. They break it down and rebuild it in ways its creators never imagined. On the Defiance bridge, warning lights flashed as systems trained under the aftermath of the quantum field deployment. Drive containment stabilizing, Kumar reported from engineering. But we won't be able to try that trick again. The crystalline matrix is showing signs of microfractures. We won't need to, Chen replied, studying the tactical display. Look at their formation. The high ships are pulling back, trying to establish a new control pattern over their drones. They're not used to encountering something they can't simply overwhelm or adapt to. Rivera nodded, understanding dawning on his face. They're used to fighting species that try to match them technologically. But we're not trying to match them. Exactly. Chen opened a channel to the colony. Governor Kilara, I need access to your mining operations industrial fabricators. We're about to show the swarm another human specialty: improvised weapons. The governor's response carried a mix of confusion and intrigue. Our fabricators. They're designed for processing crystalline ore. Not. Trust me, Chen interrupted, her mind already racing with possibilities. Humanity spent centuries finding ways to turn everyday tools into weapons. Your mining equipment might not be meant for combat, but neither was our quantum drive. Sometimes the best weapon is the one your enemy never expects you to use. As the Defiant moved to protect the colony's main fabrication facility, Chen shared her plan through the neural interface. Her crew's reactions ranged from disbelief to excited anticipation. It was crazy, dangerous, and probably violated several laws of physics. In other words, it was exactly the kind of plan that humanity had built its reputation on. The swarm was about to learn another crucial lesson about human warfare. Sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't the one designed for battle, but the one repurposed from something entirely different. And nobody in the galaxy was better at repurposing technology than the species that had turned their own planet's primitive tools into vehicles for crossing the stars. Begin fabrication sequence, Chen ordered, her eyes fixed on the regrouping swarm fleet. Let's show them what happens when you push humans into a corner. We don't just fight back, we rewrite the rules of engagement. The battle for Asteria 7 was entering a new phase, one that would demonstrate why humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons, but their ability to see possibilities where other species saw only limitations. The swarm was about to learn why cornering humans was always a dangerous proposition, because that's when they became most creative. And as Captain Sarah Chen was about to prove, creativity in warfare could be more devastating than any conventional weapon in the galaxy. The industrial fabricators of Asteria 7 hummed with activity, their crystalline matrices reprogrammed to serve a purpose far removed from their original mining functions. Captain Chen stood before the main control interface, her neural link to AI processing calculations, faster than any organic brain could manage alone. The Viridians designed these fabricators to process crystalline ore at the molecular level, she explained to Governor Kilara, whose form shifted between patterns of fascination and concern. But with some modifications, we can use that same principle to create something the swarm won't expect. What exactly are you fabricating, Captain? Kilara asked, watching as the machines produced what appeared to be thousands of small crystalline spheres, each no larger than a human fist. Chen picked up one of the completed spheres, its surface catching the light with an almost liquid shimmer. We're taking advantage of your civilization's expertise in crystalline technology and combining it with an old human mining technique called fracking. She smiled. Though we're making some creative adjustments. In orbit above the colony, the swarm had reorganized its forces. The remaining high ship coordinated its drones in new patterns, their biomechanical systems having evolved past their vulnerability to quantum distortions. They were learning, adapting, becoming stronger with each passing moment. Captain, Commander Rivera's voice came through Chen's neural link. Swarm forces are moving into attack position. Whatever you're planning, we need it soon. Chen placed the crystal sphere back among its thousands of identical siblings. Begin deployment sequence. Lieutenant Kumar, status of the modified shield generators. Ready, Captain, Kumar replied from the Defiance engineering section. Though I still think this is completely insane. Noted Lieutenant. Chen's smile widened. But insanity is humanity's specialty. Begin Phase 1. The Defiance cargo holds opened, releasing clouds of the crystalline spheres into space. They spread out in a seemingly random pattern, their surfaces reflecting the light of distant stars. To the swarm's biosensors, they appeared as little more than debris, mining waste scattered as a primitive attempt at obstruction. Governor Kilara watched the tactical display with growing concern. Captain, the swarm vessels are advancing through the field of crystals. They're not even attempting to avoid them. Perfect, Chen replied. They're doing exactly what I expected. Species that rely on continuous adaptation often forget one crucial detail. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective. She opened a channel to her ship. All hands, brace for Phase 2. Kumar, initiate the resonance pulse on my mark. The swarm pressed forward, its drones moving through the cloud of crystals with singular purpose. Their adaptive shields easily deflected the occasional impact from the small spheres, their biological processors dismissing them as inconsequential. That was their first mistake. Mark. The Defiance modified shield generators pulsed, emitting a precisely calibrated frequency that rippled through space. The crystalline spheres, engineered to amplify and redirect this specific wavelength, began to resonate in harmony. What happened next defied the swarm's considerable experience in combat. Each sphere became a focal point for destructive harmonics, creating a web of intersecting energy waves that shattered molecular bonds. The swarm's biomechanical ships, their structures now caught in a three-dimensional grid of resonating crystals, began to break apart from the inside. The crystals, Kilara breathed, her form bright with sudden understanding. You've turned our mining technology into a weapon that attacks at the molecular level. Chen nodded. Humanity learned early in its history that victory doesn't always go to the strongest or most advanced. Sometimes it goes to whoever thinks of using their tools in ways nobody else imagined. But the swarm, true to its nature, was already adapting. The surviving drones began to modify their hull frequencies, attempting to counter the resonance effect. The Hive ship directed its forces to create safe corridors through the crystal field, its biological processors working furiously to solve this new threat. They're adapting faster than predicted, Rivera reported. Crystal resonance effectiveness dropping to 60%, 40%. As expected, Chen replied, her calm demeanor unchanged, which is why this isn't our only trick. Begin Phase 3. The remaining crystals, their resonance now ineffective against the adapted swarm vessels, suddenly began to change. The molecular restructuring technology, borrowed from the mining fabricators, had one final surprise programmed into it. The crystals exploded, not with conventional force, but with precisely calculated quantum cascades that rippled through space-time itself. Each detonation created a microscopic bubble of altered physics, their effects multiplied by the careful positioning of the crystal field. The swarm found itself caught in a web of localized reality distortions. Ships that had adapted to defend against molecular resonance now faced zones where the fundamental forces of the universe behaved unpredictably. Gravity reversed. Strong nuclear forces weakened. The very fabric of space twisted in ways that their adaptive technology couldn't process fast enough. Fascinating, Commander Vix observed from the colony's command center. You used our mining technology not just as a weapon, but as a delivery system for localized physics manipulation. Humans have a saying, Chen replied as she watched the swarm's formation break apart in confusion. Sometimes the best way to win isn't to be better at the game. It's to change the rules entirely. But even as the swarm reeled from this unprecedented attack, the Hive ship was preparing its counterstroke. Its massive form began to pulse with energy, its biological systems reconfiguring in ways that even ARIA's predictive algorithms couldn't anticipate. Captain, Rivera's voice carried a note of urgent warning. The Hive ship, it's doing something we've never seen before. Energy readings are off the charts. Chen's expression hardened as she studied the tactical data flooding through her neural interface. The swarm had been pushed to its limit, and now it was about to reveal why it had earned its reputation as one of the most feared forces in the galaxy. All hands, battle stations, she ordered. Governor Kilara, raise your colony shields to maximum. We're about to find out if humanity's creativity can match the swarm's desperation. The final phase of the battle was about to begin, and with it would come the ultimate test of humanity's greatest strength, the ability to face the impossible and find a way through. As the Hive ship prepared its devastating response, Captain Sarah Chen and her crew stood ready to prove why humanity had survived countless wars that should have destroyed them. Sometimes the most dangerous opponent isn't the strongest or most advanced. It's the one who refuses to accept defeat as an option. The high ship's transformation was unlike anything humanity had encountered in its relatively brief time among the stars. Its biomechanical structure flowered open like a deadly lotus, revealing layers of organic weaponry that pulsed with otherworldly energy. The surviving drone ships began to merge with their parent vessel, each connection adding to its growing power. On the Defiance bridge, Captain Chen watched through both her physical eyes and ARI's sensor feeds as the enemy evolved into something that defied conventional analysis. The swarm isn't just adapting anymore, Rivera reported, his voice tight. They're completely restructuring their entire combat doctrine. ARI is giving us a 98% probability that this is some kind of last resort protocol. Makes sense, Chen replied, her mind racing through tactical possibilities. We've forced them so far out of their comfort zone that they're rewriting their own rules. That's usually humanity's trick. She allowed herself a grim smile. Let's show them why that's dangerous. The transformed hive ship now resembled a massive crystalline spider, its limbs crackling with energy that bent light around it. When it spoke, it broadcast on all frequencies, its message translated into perfect galactic common. Your species is ANANOMENALY, ULACK, the biological perfection of DGT swarm. Your technology is primitive. Your method is DFYPREDICTION. You will be studied, understood, and eliminated. Charming, Chen muttered. Then, louder, Lieutenant Kumar, status of the quantum drive. Barely holding together, Captain, Kumar reported from engineering. The crystalline matrix is showing signs of complete breakdown. One more major stress, and we'll lose it entirely. Chen nodded, as if this was exactly what she wanted to hear. Governor Kilara, I need one more thing from your mining operation. Do you have any antimatter storage facilities? The governor's response was immediate and alarmed. Captain, you cannot be suggesting. Our antimatter storage is for powering the deep core mining operations. The containment fields are industrial grade, not meant for. Perfect, Chen interrupted. That's exactly what I need. Commander Rivera, plot me a course that will take us through the colony's main mining shaft. Maximum precision required. Rivera's eyes widened as he saw the plan forming in their shared tactical display. Captain, that's insane, impossible, guaranteed to get us all killed. Chen's smile was fierce now. Exactly. That's why it's going to work. Humanity didn't become a spacefaring species by playing it safe. The transformed hive ship launched its attack, firing beams of energy that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. Where they struck, matter simply ceased to exist, erased from reality itself. The Defiance shields, already strained from their earlier battles, began to fail under this impossible assault. All hands, Chen broadcast throughout her ship, what we're about to do violates about a dozen laws of physics and probably several international treaties. But humanity has a proud tradition of doing the impossible when our backs are against the wall. Lieutenant Kumar, initiate Protocol Omega Black. Kumar's voice was steady despite the insanity of what they were about to attempt. Protocol Omega Black initiated. Quantum drive matrix reconfigured for total conversion. It's been an honor, Captain. The Defiant dove towards the colony, its maneuvering thrusters firing with surgical precision as it aligned itself with the massive mining shaft. The hive ship followed, its new form allowing it to predict and counter any normal evasive pattern. But humanity had long since abandoned normal. Governor, Chen called out, on my mark, I need you to drop your containment fields around the antimatter storage. All of them. Simultaneously. Captain. Kilara's voice was almost pleading. The resulting reaction would. Trust us. Chen interrupted one final time. Humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology or our determination. It's our willingness to do what every other species considers impossible. The Defiant plunged into the mining shaft, its hull scraping against crystalline walls as it threaded an impossible needle. Behind it, the transformed hive ship followed, its massive form barely fitting into the shaft as it pursued its prey. Now, several things happened in the space of a few heartbeats. The antimatter containment fields dropped, releasing their deadly cargo into the shaft. The Defiant's failing quantum drive initiated its final sequence, its crystalline matrix shattering in a carefully calculated pattern. The laws of physics took a moment to realize what humanity had just done, and then everything went white. The combination of free antimatter, a detonating quantum drive, and the enclosed space of the mining shaft created what later Viridian scientists would call a localized reality inversion. The hive ship, caught in the effect, found itself trying to exist in a space where the fundamental forces of the universe had been temporarily rewritten by human insanity. For a being that relied on adapting to natural laws, suddenly finding those laws turned inside out was fatal. The Defiant, its quantum drive sacrificed in the attack, shot out of the other end of the mining shaft on pure momentum, its conventional engines firing desperately to stabilize its trajectory. Behind it, the mining shaft collapsed as reality reasserted itself, taking with it the remains of the most advanced swarm vessel ever encountered. In the colony's command center, there was total silence as the sensors tried to make sense of what had just happened. Governor Kilura's crystalline form flickered between patterns of disbelief and awe. You deliberately created a space where physics itself broke down, she finally managed. No species has ever. We never even considered. That's humanity's secret, Chen replied, her voice tired but proud as the Defiant limped back to the colony. We don't live within the rules. We see them as challenges to overcome. Sometimes that means breaking them entirely. The remaining swarm drones, cut off from their hive ship, began to drift aimlessly in space. Without their central intelligence, they were nothing more than hollow shells, a testament to the price of underestimating humanity's capacity for creative destruction. For the record, Rivera said as emergency repair crews swarmed through the Defiant, "That was the craziest thing I've ever seen, and I've served with you for 5 years." Chen smiled, watching as Viridian ships began to secure the area. "Then you'll love what I'm planning for our next mission. Humanity's got a lot more impossible tricks to show the galaxy." Because that was the truth about humans in space. They weren't the strongest, the most advanced, or the most numerous. But they were, without doubt, the species most willing to look at the impossible and say, "Watch this." And that, more than any weapon or technology, was what made humanity a force to be reckoned with in the galaxy. 1 week after the Battle of Asteria 7, the Viridian High Council chamber was filled with representatives from a dozen spacefaring species. Their forms, crystalline, energy-based, and biological, all focused on the holographic display showing the battle's final moments. Captain Sarah Chen stood before them, her dress uniform pristine despite her ship's extensive repairs still underway in the colony shipyards. The recording ended with the flash of the reality inversion, and for a moment, the chamber was silent. Then, First Speaker Lazara, her crystalline form radiating patterns of deep thought, addressed the assembly. "For centuries, we have viewed humanity as..." She paused, choosing her words carefully, "technologically adolescent. Your ships were considered primitive, your methods unrefined. The Asteria 7 incident has forced us to reconsider many assumptions." Chen stood at ease, her posture relaxed but alert. Humanity learned long ago that true advancement isn't just about creating new technology. It's about thinking differently about the technology you have. A quantum collective representative, their energy form flickering with analytical patterns, spoke next. "You deliberately destroyed your quantum drive to create a weapon. This violates 17 different safety protocols established by the Galactic Concordat." "With respect," Chen replied, a slight smile playing at her lips, Those protocols were written by species who view technology as something to be mastered and controlled. Humanity views it as something to be explored and reinvented. Sometimes that means breaking it to see what happens. Footage began playing of the Defiant's earlier battle maneuvers, the quantum probability field, the crystalline resonance weapon, the final desperate plunge into the mining shaft. Each display caused ripples of discussion among the assembled representatives. An Arcturian war philosopher, their biomechanical frame humming with interest, leaned forward. You turned mining equipment into weapons of mass destruction, created localized physics anomalies as tactical advantages, used probability itself as a shield. These are not the actions of a primitive species. No, Chen agreed. They're the actions of a species that spent its entire history learning to survive against overwhelming odds. We may not have the most advanced technology, but we understand something that many older species have forgotten. The most powerful weapon isn't the one you have. It's the one you create when you have nothing else left. Governor Kilara, now promoted to sector administrator after her role in the battle, stepped forward. The swarm has been a threat to civilized space for generations. They adapt to every weapon, counter every strategy. Yet a single human ship, using improvised tactics and repurposed mining equipment, managed to destroy their most advanced high ship. Because we didn't try to beat them at their own game, Chen explained. The swarm adapts to patterns it can recognize. So we gave it something it couldn't possibly predict: human chaos theory in practice. The chamber erupted in overlapping discussions, various species debating the implications of what they'd witnessed. First speaker Lazora raised her crystalline appendage for silence. Captain Chen, humanity has demonstrated capabilities that concern many of us. Your species' willingness to ignore established protocols, to weaponize civilian technology, to break fundamental laws of physics. These are traditionally signs of a dangerous race. Chen's expression remained calm. With respect, first speaker, they're signs of a race that refuses to accept limitations. Humanity doesn't break rules for the sake of breaking them. We break them because sometimes the only way forward is to rewrite the book entirely. She gestured to the holographic display, now showing the aftermath of the battle. The swarm attacked a civilian colony. We had a choice: follow established protocols and watch 50,000 people die, or try something crazy and give them a chance to live. Humanity will always choose the second option. The quantum collective representative's energy form pulsed with reluctant admiration. Your methods are unconventional, but the results are undeniable. The swarm has never suffered such a decisive defeat. Which is why, first speaker Lazora announced, the Viridian Confederation is formally proposing a military alliance with Earth. We offer our advanced technology in exchange for humanity's unique perspective on its application. A murmur ran through the chamber. Such an alliance was unprecedented. The Viridians were known for their technological superiority and reluctance to share it. Chen smiled. I think we'd be interested in that arrangement. Though I should warn you, once humans start getting creative with your technology, things might get a little unpredictable. We're counting on it, Kilara said. The galaxy is changing. The old ways of thinking are no longer sufficient. Perhaps it's time for all of us to learn how to think a little more human. As the chamber debated the details of the proposed alliance, Chen's neural link buzzed with a message from Earth Command. The Defiance sensors had detected unusual activity in the Carina sector, possibly another swarm incursion. First speaker, Chen said, I look forward to discussing this alliance in detail. But right now, there's another colony that might need humanity's brand of impossible solutions. Lysara's crystalline form flickered with what might have been amusement. Go, Captain. Show the galaxy what humanity can do. We'll have the paperwork ready when you return. As Chen left the chamber, she could hear the continued discussions behind her. Species that had looked down on humanity for decades now debating how to harness the chaos that humans brought to the galaxy. It was, she thought, exactly the kind of impossible situation that humanity excelled at navigating. Because that was the truth that the galaxy was finally beginning to understand. Humanity wasn't just another spacefaring species. They were the ones who looked at the impossible and saw opportunity. The ones who turned mining tools into weapons, civilian technology into military advantages, and certain defeat into improbable victory. They were human, and they were just getting started.